You'd think that after increasing child poverty by almost 750,000 kids, the Conservatives would come back from the political wilderness with, the bare minimum, a shred of humanity. No, no, they haven't. They've returned with the same old script. Blame poor families, blame big families, blame anyone except the people who ran the country for the past 14 years. They're not worried about the national debt, that's what they're trying to make you think. They're actually worried that you might stop blaming poor people for being poor. Kemi Badenoch and her shadow cabinet just attacked the removal of the two-child benefit cap. They declared a moral war on the concept of helping people. They want you to believe that poverty is a character flaw and that hunger is a necessary motivator rather than a consequence of their own economic vandalism. So let's start with the scoreboard. In 2010-2011, around 3.6 million children were in relative poverty. By the end of the Conservative rule, 4.3 million. That's 730,000 more kids pushed below the poverty line. And the new data shows that the number hitting 4.5 million, that's the highest on record. 14 years of austerity, and this is the legacy. More kids poor, hungrier, and relying on food banks, a normalised part of childhood in one of the richest countries on the planet. But according to Helen Whately and Kemi Badenoch, the real problem, the real crisis, isn't families drowning under the cost of living. It's apparently that some children exist.
Labour are hiking taxes to pay for welfare. This is a budget for Benefit Street, Madam Deputy Speaker, paid for by working people.
Benefit Street. She actually said it. She stood up in the House of Commons and used a trashy TV show title to describe struggling families. She admits it openly. She told LBC listeners that the market doesn't care about your household. She doesn't care about your household. She cares about the FTSE index. And here's the reality she ignores. The majority of people claiming universal credit are actually in work. They are stacking shelves, cleaning hospitals, driving delivery vans. They're not living on Benefit Street. They're living on your street. But she can't even stay consistent. In one breath, she says this.
The government doesn't have any money. It gets all the money from all the other people who are out there working. That's the real problem.
Then immediately in the next, she says this.
They are taxing other people to pay more benefits.
There's no context, there's no nuance. It's just they're the problem, not the economy that we wrecked. Not the wages that we stagnated. Not the safety net we shredded. It's the parents. It's the kids. Then comes the LBC caller, a full-time social worker, a single mother of 3. She works, she pays taxes, she contributes, and she relies on universal credit to stay afloat. She calls him out directly. And what does Badenoch do? Does she apologise? No. Reflect? Also no. Show empathy? Absolutely not. She doubles down and claims again it's us versus them. Except in this case, us literally includes the caller, a taxpayer. She's a worker, a mother doing everything right and still being blamed for being poor.
I will have constituents who have gone and bought an electric vehicle because they maybe had a subsidy from the previous government. They live in a rural area and they don't think that they have to pay fuel duty. They've been whacked with something. Landlords have been whacked. They're taxing, it's just everything. Holidays, milkshakes, just all sorts of random things. There are 43 taxes in this budget. That's going to hit a hell of a lot of people.
But the markets like it, don't they? I mean, the FTSE index has soared today, which is... I mean, at first I thought, well, how come? Because there are so many tax rises in this budget. But you have Jamie Dimon, one of the sort of richest businessmen in the world, saying, well, no, she's been fiscally responsible. Business will like this. And you see the stock market rising. So why should people believe you as the leader of the opposition rather than the stock market?
Because they have to look at what happened before the budget. The markets were reacting very, very badly to a lot of the announcements she was putting out. So the markets have already reacted. And what the markets have said is she going to have enough cash to carry out, just to continue being a budget? The market is not interested in how much money your household has or how much money my household has. The market is interested in whether the government is going to be able to pay its debt and whether it's going to be taking on more debt, and it's going to keep doing that. But the cash flow is coming from making us all poorer. That is not a good place to be.
Right, let's go to some calls, shall we? Let's go to Kirsty in High Wycombe. Hello, Kirsty.
Hi.
Hello, what's your question to Kemi?
So, Minister, today in the House of Commons, you used the phrase budget for Benefit Street when speaking about the two-child limit. As a full-time social worker and a single mother of 3 who relies on universal credit despite working, I need to tell you that that language that you used, it fuels stigma and backlash against ordinary families who are simply trying to stay afloat. The two-child policy directly affects working parents like me, so I will gain around £120 a month from the uplift. And if stopped working tomorrow and I went onto full universal credit, the benefit cap would wipe out any additional support anyway. So the idea that people are having children for benefits isn't just offensive, it's actually untrue. So my question is, why are you so against lifting the two-child limit when we have strong evidence that it pushes children into poverty?
We need to understand where the money is coming from. This money is being borrowed from future generations, and we are paying more and more money to pay off the debt interest. We can't afford it. Government has to live within its means. And I do understand that your personal circumstances are difficult. I do understand. But there is no limit on child benefit. There's no limit on the amount of child benefit you can claim on the number of children. We are purely talking about the universal credit element of child benefit. And I do think it is fair that families who are struggling don't have to pay for other families. And some of those families may want more children. They don't have them. I know lots of families who said this, that I would have liked more children. I couldn't afford them. I don't think it is fair to ask them to pay. It doesn't mean that we think that you're all right. But the thing that's going to deal with child poverty is people getting more in their pay and having jobs. Right now, jobs are being destroyed.
So let's just talk about real life just for a second. Life happens. You have a job. Maybe you have 3 kids, maybe 4. You can afford them. Then your partner dies, or your company folds, or you get sick, or for some reason you can't afford them. Kemi's logic implies that you should have predicted that future. It treats children like a luxury car rental that you can just return if the payments get too tight. You can't return a child. They starved services for 14 years, suppressed wages, they watched food bank usage explode, and now, when help finally arrives, they call it humiliation. Living with our means. That's what Helen Whately said.
Kemi Badenoch's against this idea. Why?
I think just look at the situation that we're in as a country, and we need to start living within our means, and we need to get public spending coming down, and that includes specifically welfare spending. We do need to make difficult choices. So instincts have to be, let's get that spending down. And then the other thing is you've got parents who are making very difficult decisions whether they can afford to have more children or not, or even have a family in the first place, parents who are not receiving any benefits. People feel they're struggling under the weight of taxation at the moment. So it's just not fair to put up taxes on people in order to fund other people to have more children. That's just not the way that we should be going.
She thinks it's unfair for you to pay for a child's breakfast. She thinks the state budget is too tight to help the vulnerable. But Helen has a very different definition of means when it comes to her. While she lectures you about tightening your belt, Helen was claiming £3,250 a month in rent expenses. That's nearly £40,000 a year. That's more than the median national salary just on her housing. She needs the taxpayer to cover the rent bill that costs more than people earn in a year. I mean, okay, that's fine. That's expenses. It's part of a job. But if a mother on minimum wage needs an extra 20 quid a week just so her 3rd kid doesn't go to school with an empty stomach, that is a benefit. That is Benefit Street. That's a handout. That's unfair. Do you see the game yet? They don't hate the government spending. They love it. They love expenses. The travel, the subsidised bars in Parliament. They just hate it when that money goes to you. They frame this as hard workers versus grifters. Because if you looked at the numbers, you'd realise the real drain on the economy isn't the family in the council flat. It's the politicians expensing a second home while telling you to eat less. Okay, I know I've waffled on, but just to wrap this up, let's talk about the policy itself. The two-child benefit cap was one of the most aggressive welfare cuts of the last decade. 450,000 children will now be lifted out of poverty once it's removed, and 550,000 families stand to see an average boost of around about £5,300 per year once it's fully implemented. Total individuals affected once it's scrapped, 600,000 fewer people in low income. So when the Tories defend this cap, when they paint it as fair, They're defending a policy that's deliberately kept children in poverty. And the Conservatives, they're already committed to reinstating it if they get back into power. Back to the cap, back to pushing kids into poverty, back to punishing families for circumstances often beyond their control.
Are you going to promise to reverse this decision?
Yes, we have said that we will reverse this decision. The two-child benefit, we think that it is fair to have it. We have said that we would reverse it. We think what Labour is doing is wrong.